Privilege. Specifically white privilege. The definition of privilege is a special right, advantage, or immunity granted and only available to a particular group. Many people are talking about privilege right now. And what I have to say is this. If you are a Caucasian, a white male living in America, you are privileged. Whether you feel like it or not, you are privileged. There is nothing inhibiting you from becoming whatever you want to be in this world. Think about this. You're American. People around the world would flip out to become American if they could. It's the place they're trying to get to. The land of the free and home of the brave, right? 3% of the world's population is American. 3%. So just being an American is a privilege. Now add in that you're a male. Now add in, for example, with me, that I grew up in an educated family. Both parents, college degrees, father, multiple advanced degrees. That's privilege. Grew up in the North, educated. I consider all of those things to be generally a privilege. There is nothing in the way of me becoming whatever I'm dreaming I can become. No obstacles. Even women growing up in the North, same profile except being female. You have a slew of obstacles in front of you in life. I happen to be a guy. I've got none. So now, take a look at privilege as it exists around the world. Every country, and this is a human trait, right, that is part of what I said yesterday, the selfish side of things, if we don't think we're part of the problem. Because I don't care where you live. If you live in India, you live in Germany, you live in South Africa, we as humans will look at our surroundings, look at the people around us, and justify the goodness that we get and feel like, or at least tell ourselves that we deserve the goodness. And then we will also justify the position of the others if they don't have that privilege or that goodness. And that is really the point of what I want to talk about today. There are just too many layers to this to put into one conversation. But today it's just about privilege. And so privilege exists everywhere. But if you are a white male in the world, especially living in a wealthy country like the United States, you are about as privileged as it gets. And so I can pretend like I deserve to have been born in this place, in this location, with this look, with this education. I didn't do anything to deserve this. And on the contrary, the people who don't have the privilege, different genders, different races, different backgrounds, poverty, education, whatever. Think about it. In India, there's an entire system that's been built based on your place that you happen to be born into. That's not fair. That's not fair at all. Not if I really think God created us all individually, equally, beautifully as people, which I do. And so I have to recognize that I was born into a place of privilege. And again, if you don't think you were, let me give you this example. Have you ever traveled outside the United States? I would hope you have. I've never been on a cruise, but I know what it's like because I've been in places where cruises go. And I've been confused for a cruise ship person. If you've ever been on a cruise or traveled to an all-inclusive resort, they will size you up the moment you get there. If you've traveled to the Caribbean, to Central America, to other places where people look different than us, what happens when you step off the cruise ship in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and you start walking towards the shops? They view you as an American, and they then view you as having a bunch of money and a bunch of influence. So they want to talk to you. They want to sell to you because they know you can buy it. They know you can have influence. Have you ever noticed that? And then you go, oh, I'm just so sick of all these people tracking me down. Why? Because you're privileged. Or at least there's the perception that you're privileged. And what's the opposite of that? Racism. That you're not privileged and that people are targeting you because they somehow justify that you're less. Why do they justify that you look like more? Or I look like more? Just because I'm a European guy born in the north of the United States. That's it. But guess what? That's a privilege. And so if you think it's not real, just travel the world. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called Outliers, another example for us American people. Did you know, and I'm going to get the statistic not exactly right, but it's something like 80% of all hockey players in the NHL were born in the first 2 months of the year. Why is that? Because when you're born in January or February, you are inherently the oldest players on the team, and you're almost a year older than the kids that were born in November and December. And when you're young, that's a lot of your life. That's 5% of your life, 10% of your life, 15, 20% of your life when you're really young. And that's a step ahead. You are almost a year older, a year bigger, a year more advanced. And if you don't think that translates or plays out, then why are 80% of the players in the NHL born in January and February? Because they got a step up. That's a privileged spot to be born. They didn't do anything to deserve that. They just got lucky. But then all of a sudden they have a much greater chance of becoming a professional hockey player, for example. So now they're in a position of having influence in a place that they didn't earn. And that's the place, when it comes to privilege, that so many of us are in that we fail to recognize. I didn't deserve this. I just was born. Doesn't mean I'm less, but it certainly doesn't mean I'm more. If I don't utilize what I've been given, born in America, male, family educated, like all of that, if I don't utilize that to help others, then I'm just living a really selfish life and I'm ignoring the problems and the plight of everyone else who didn't happen to somehow be given all those privileges, luck into all those privileges. Privilege is not earned. It doesn't address that in the definition. It just says that you have an advantage. It doesn't say earned or not earned, but I'm here to tell you, privilege, not earned. You were born into it and given some tremendous opportunities, and so was I. So as I said yesterday, if you don't think you're part of the problem, well, that's the place to start.